First Contact Protocol. The UES horizon cut through the void like a blade, its hull gleaming under the distant starlight. Commander Maya Chen stood at the observation deck, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling nebula ahead. After 15 years in the United Earth Fleet, she had seen her share of wonders, but the Cygnus formation still took her breath away. A canvas of cosmic dust and newborn stars that stretched across the view screen. Beautiful, isn't it? The voice belonged to Dr. Elias Reeves, the expedition's chief cynobiologist. His weathered face creased into a smile as he joined her by the window. "We didn't come all this way for sightseeing, Doctor," Maya replied, though a hint of a smile betrayed her agreement. "Sensor sweep complete, Commander," Lieutenant Raj Patel called from his station. "We're picking up artificial structures on the third planet of the Cygnus 459 system." Maya straightened her uniform. "Composition. Unknown materials, Commander. But the energy signatures are off the charts. Whatever built them has technology that makes ours look primitive." This was it, the moment humanity had been waiting for since they first looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. First contact with an advanced alien civilization. The Horizon wasn't just a survey vessel. It was the flagship of humanity's expedition fleet, equipped with the best technology Earth had to offer. Behind it trailed 5 support vessels, each filled with scientists, diplomats, and a modest security contingent. "Alert Admiral Zhao. Initiate First Contact Protocol Alpha," Maya ordered. Within minutes, the bridge was a flurry of activity. The communications team prepared the standard greeting package: mathematical sequences, basic scientific principles, and cultural information designed to establish peaceful intent. The security team ran diagnostics on the Horizon's defensive systems, a precaution Admiral Zhao had insisted, though Maya hoped they wouldn't be necessary. "Commander, we're being scanned," Paddle reported, his voice tight. "Multiple frequencies, penetrating all our systems." Maya frowned. "Can we block it?" "Negative. It's technology we've never encountered before." Dr. Reeves leaned forward, excitement plain on his face. "They're curious about us." "That's good. Curiosity is the foundation of diplomacy." The scan lasted 3 minutes before abruptly cutting off. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. "We're receiving a transmission," the communications officer announced. "Audio only." What followed was unlike anything Maya had ever heard, a series of clicks, whistles, and deep resonant tones that seemed to vibrate through her very bones. "Universal Translator is working on it," the officer said, "but it's going to take time." "Send our greeting package," Maya ordered. "Let's show them we come in peace." The response was immediate and jarring. The ship shuddered as energy readings spiked across all sensors. "Multiple vessels emerging from the planet," Patel shouted. "Configuration unknown, but they're large, at least 3 times our size." The view screen filled with the image of ships that defied human understanding of engineering. They weren't the sleek, utilitarian designs of Earth vessels, but instead resembled massive crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them, making their exact dimensions difficult to gauge. "They're accelerating toward us," Paddle continued, his voice remarkably steady despite the sweat beading on his forehead. "Weapons signatures detected, energy weapons, unlike anything in our database." Admiral Zhao's face appeared on the secondary screen. The old soldier's expression was grave. "Commander Chen, pull back to defensive position Delta. I'm deploying the Aegis and Typhoon to provide cover." "With respect, Admiral, we haven't exhausted diplomatic options," Maya protested. "Look at your sensors, Commander. Those aren't diplomatic vessels." As if to punctuate his point, the lead alien ship fired. A beam of blinding energy lanced out, missing the horizon by mere kilometers, but striking the UES Discovery, one of the smaller support vessels. The Discovery's shields flared briefly before collapsing, and the ship broke apart in a silent explosion. 300 souls, Dr. Reeves whispered, his earlier excitement replaced by horror. They didn't even give us a chance to talk. All vessels, evasive maneuvers. Admiral Joe barked. Weapons free. Defend yourselves. The human fleet scattered, but they were outmatched in both speed and firepower. The UES Typhoon, a combat vessel designed for interstellar warfare, managed to land a hit on one of the alien ships, but its most powerful weapons barely scratched the crystalline surface. Our conventional weapons are ineffective, reported Tactical Officer Lin. They're picking us apart. Maya watched in growing despair as another support vessel was hit, its hull breached by the alien weapons. They had come seeking knowledge and friendship, only to find death among the stars. Admiral, she said, we need to use the Phoenix Protocol. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The Phoenix Protocol was Earth's last resort, an experimental weapon system installed on the horizon as a failsafe. It had never been tested outside of simulations, and for good reason. The system was designed to create a localized rupture in space-time, generating an energy wave that would disable any technology within its radius. The problem was, it might disable the horizon as well. Admiral Zhao's face was ashen. You understand what you're asking. If the containment field fails, you and your crew will die anyway if we do nothing. Maya finished for him. The difference is, with Phoenix, we might save the rest of the fleet. After a moment's hesitation, Zhao nodded. Authorization granted. May whatever gods exist have mercy on us all. Maya turned to her crew. Initiate Phoenix Protocol. Divert all non-essential power to the containment field. As her crew rushed to comply, Maya accessed the secure terminal at her station, entering her authorization code. A new interface appeared, showing a complex series of calculations and power readings. Protocol active, reported the ship's eye. Charging sequence initiated. Warning, containment field stability at 78% and falling. Hold it together, Maya muttered, both to the ship and to herself. The alien vessels continued their approach, seemingly unconcerned with the desperate measures being undertaken aboard the human flagship. Perhaps they couldn't detect the buildup of energy, or perhaps they simply didn't believe a species as primitive as humans could pose any real threat. 60 seconds to critical mass, the AI announced. All hands, brace for impact, Maya ordered over the ship-wide comm. She looked around at her crew, meeting each of their eyes in turn. It's been an honor serving with you all. Phoenix Protocol at critical mass, the AI stated. Containment field at 62%. Activation sequence ready. Maya took a deep breath. Activate Phoenix. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a pulse of energy erupted from the horizon, expanding outward in a perfect sphere. It passed through the human vessels without effect, but when it reached the alien ships, the results were immediate and dramatic. The crystalline structures dimmed, their lights flickering out one by one. Their weapons powered down, and their movements ceased. For several seconds, they hung in space, inert and vulnerable. What happened? Dr. Reeves asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The Phoenix worked, Maya replied, unable to keep the surprise from her voice. It disrupted their technology without affecting ours. Impossible, Lieutenant Patel said. Our systems should have been affected too. The simulations didn't account for the possibility that their technology operates on fundamentally different principles than ours. Maya finished. Admiral, are you seeing this? I'm seeing it, Zhao confirmed, his voice filled with cautious hope. All fleet vessels, report status. One by one, the remaining human ships confirmed they were operational. The alien vessels, meanwhile, remained frozen in space. They're powering back up, Paddle reported suddenly. Energy signatures returning to normal. Maya tensed, preparing for the aliens to resume their attack. But something had changed. The alien ships were backing away, maintaining a distance that kept them just outside the estimated range of another Phoenix pulse. We're receiving a transmission, the communications officer announced. The translator has enough data to process it now. A harsh, metallic voice filled the bridge. Human vessels. The collective acknowledges your unexpected capability. We propose a temporary cessation of hostilities to discuss terms. Maya exchanged a glance with Admiral Zhao on the screen. After a moment, the Admiral nodded. "This is Admiral Zhao of the United Earth Fleet," he replied. "We accept your proposal. But understand this. We came in peace, and you responded with violence. 300 of my people are dead. Whatever discussions we have will begin with that fact." There was a pause before the alien voice responded. "Acknowledge. Prepare to receive coordinates for a neutral meeting point." As the transmission ended, a cheer went up from the bridge crew. Against all odds, they had survived. More than that, they had forced an apparently superior species to the negotiating table. Dr. Reeves approached Maya, his expression a mixture of relief and concern. "What do you think changed their minds? Surely they could adapt to the Phoenix weapon for a second attack." Maya stared at the alien vessels on the view screen, considering the question. "I don't think it was just the weapon. I think it was the surprise. In all their existence, they've probably never encountered a species that could hurt them, let alone one they dismissed as primitive." She turned to face her crew, a grim determination settling over her. "They thought we would be easy prey. Now they know better. And when we sit down at that negotiating table, so will the rest of their collective." The negotiation table. The designated meeting point was a small, uninhabited moon orbiting a gas giant in a neighboring system. Its surface was barren and airless, chosen specifically because neither humans nor the aliens, who called themselves the Collective, could claim it as territory. Maya stepped out of the shuttle, her environmental suit gleaming under the harsh light of the distant sun. Beside her walked Admiral Zhao, Dr. Reeves, and Ambassador Lydia Santos, Earth's most experienced diplomat. A squad of security personnel flanked them, their weapons holstered but visible. Across the dusty plain stood the alien delegation. Seeing them in person for the first time, Maya felt a chill run down her spine. The members of the collective resembled nothing so much as giant mantises, with iridescent exoskeletons and multiple limbs that ended in what appeared to be both tools and weapons. Their heads housed multifaceted eyes that glittered with an intelligence that seemed ancient and cold. "Remember," Ambassador Santos murmured through the comm, "we're here to negotiate, not to fight. But we negotiate from a position of strength." The two delegations met at a hastily constructed dome in the center of the plain. Inside, the air was regulated to accommodate both species, though the humans kept their suits on as a precaution. Translator modules hummed softly, ready to bridge the gap between human language and the complex harmonics of the collective. The lead alien stepped forward, its exoskeleton shifting in what Maya guessed was a formal posture. "I am Nexus Prime, voice of the collective. We have existed for 15,000 of your years, expanding across 17 sectors of space. In all that time, no species has ever damaged our vessels or forced us to retreat." Ambassador Santos inclined her head slightly. "I am Lydia Santos, representing the United Earth Federation. We have existed as a spacefaring civilization for less than 2 centuries. In all that time, we have sought peaceful contact with other intelligent life. Your attack was unprovoked and unjustified." "Unprovoked." Nexus Prime's translated voice carried a tone that might have been incredulity. "You entered our territory uninvited, broadcasting information about your biology, your technology, your weaknesses. We were announcing our presence and peaceful intentions," Admiral Zhao countered, his weathered face tight with controlled anger. "Standard protocol for first contact among civilized species." "Standard for prey, perhaps," another alien interjected. This one was smaller, with appendages that seemed more suited to manipulation than combat. "The collective has encountered many species in its expansion. All follow a predictable pattern. They announce themselves. We demonstrate our superiority. They submit. It is the natural order." Maya felt a surge of anger. "And those who don't submit?" are made to understand the futility of resistance. Nexus Prime replied simply, "Your species is the first to demonstrate unexpected capabilities. This merits further study." Dr. Reeves leaned forward. "You mean you want to understand how the Phoenix Protocol works?" The alien's posture shifted subtly, a ripple of movement passing through their ranks. "You named it well," Nexus Prime said after a pause. "A weapon that rises from its own destruction. Our initial analysis suggested your technology was primitive, your energy systems inefficient, yet you created something that neutralized our most advanced systems. What you witnessed was merely one application of human ingenuity," Ambassador Santos said, her voice carefully measured. "We have others." It was a bluff, of course. The Phoenix Protocol had been their ace in the hole, and even that had worked in ways they hadn't fully anticipated. But the collective didn't need to know that. "Explain your terms," Nexus Prime demanded. Admiral Zhao stepped forward. "First, reparations for the lives lost in your unprovoked attack. Second, recognition of human territory, including all currently colonized systems, and a buffer zone extending 5 light years beyond our furthest outpost. Third, a technology exchange, equal sharing of knowledge in areas of mutual benefit." The aliens conferred among themselves, their communication a series of clicks and whistles that the translators couldn't fully process. Finally, Nexus Prime turned back to the human delegation. "Your terms are unprecedented. The collective does not pay reparations. We do not recognize the sovereignty of lesser species. We do not share technology." "Then perhaps you misunderstand your position," Maya said, speaking up for the first time. All eyes turned to her. "You attacked us without provocation. We defended ourselves successfully. Now you sit across from us, not as conquerors, but as equals seeking terms. The galaxy has changed, Nexus Prime. The natural order, as you call it, has been disrupted." The alien's multifaceted eyes fixed on her, studying her with an intensity that made her skin crawl even through the environmental suit. "You are correct, human. The natural order has been disrupted. But orders can be restored. Or," Dr. Reeves interjected, "new ones can be established. One where different species coexist without domination or submission." "A naive concept," Nexus Prime replied. "Hierarchy is the foundation of stability. And adaptation is the foundation of survival." Ambassador Santos countered. "You've existed for 15,000 years without needing to adapt. Perhaps that's why you find it so difficult now." Another silence fell as the aliens conferred. Maya observed them closely, noting the subtle shifts in posture and coloration that seemed to indicate disagreement among their ranks. Finally, Nexus Prime spoke again. "The collective proposes alternative terms. We will provide compensation for your lost vessel, not as reparation, but as acknowledgement of a strategic miscalculation. We will recognize a boundary between our territories, to be negotiated in detail, and we will consider limited exchange of knowledge in specific domains." Admiral Zhao's expression remained stern. "And what do you expect in return?" "Information about the Phoenix technology." "Absolutely not," the Admiral replied immediately. "Admiral," Maya said quietly, "may I suggest an alternative?" When Zhao nodded, she turned to Nexus Prime. "We won't share the Phoenix technology, but we are willing to discuss its principles in exchange for unrestricted access to your historical records and full disclosure of all species you've encountered." Nexus Prime's appendages moved in what might have been agitation. "You wish to learn of our conquests. To what end?" "To ensure justice," Maya replied simply, "for those who came before us." Another conference among the aliens, longer this time. Maya could sense the tension in their movements, the discord in their harmonics. Finally, Nexus Prime turned back to them. "The collective accepts these terms with conditions. The information exchange will be gradual, supervised by representatives from both sides. The territorial boundaries will be established by joint commission, and future contact between our species will follow strict protocols to prevent misunderstandings." Ambassador Santos smiled thinly. We can agree to that framework. The details will require further negotiation, of course. Of course, Nexus Prime echoed, the translation somehow conveying both resignation and calculation. As the formal protocols for establishing the agreement began, Dr. Reeves moved closer to Maya. "This is remarkable," he whispered. "In one encounter, we fundamentally altered the relationship between a dominant species and the rest of the galaxy." Maya watched the aliens carefully. "Don't celebrate yet, Doctor. This is just the beginning. They're adapting, learning. Next time, they'll be prepared for whatever we throw at them." "Perhaps," the doctor conceded, "but so will we. That's the thing about humans. We're never the same enemy twice." Hours later, as the initial framework agreement was being finalized, Maya stood outside the dome, gazing up at the stars. Admiral Zhao joined her, his expression thoughtful. "You're wondering if we did the right thing," Maya said. It wasn't a question. "I'm wondering what comes next," Zhao replied. "We've entered the galactic stage in a way none of us anticipated. The collective isn't the only advanced civilization out there. Some might see us as potential allies against their dominance. Others might view us as an even greater threat. Either way, humanity can't go back to the way things were." Maya said, "We know we're not alone, and we know the universe is more dangerous than we imagined." Zhao nodded slowly. "And yet, in our first major test, we didn't just survive. We changed the rules of engagement. That counts for something." In the distance, the alien delegation was boarding their shuttle, their movements precise and coordinated. Maya wondered what they were thinking, how they were processing this unprecedented setback to their expansion. "You know they'll be studying us now," she said, "learning our weaknesses, developing countermeasures." "Let them try," Zhao replied, a hint of pride in his voice. "In the meantime, we'll be doing the same. And if there's one thing humans excel at, it's learning from our mistakes and our successes." As the alien shuttle rose silently from the lunar surface, Maya felt a strange mixture of apprehension and hope. Humanity had taken its first steps onto a much larger stage, one filled with ancient powers and unknown dangers. But they had done so on their own terms, forcing even a species as old and powerful as the collective to acknowledge them not as prey, but as equals. Whatever came next, that alone was a victory worth celebrating.